Crawford rejects, whoa, whoa, whoa.
You got knocked out by a jab by Crawford. I'll speak to Crawford. You pussy, you don't start giving me the big ones. By a jab.
You look for a way out, quit in that fight, you.
Mate, you got knocked out by a jab, so stop giving me the big one.
I like it. I love that press.
We'll see what you do on February 19th. Listen, there's no point giving the big ones now. You know, everyone can talk. We'll see what you bring to the table. We'll see what you bring on the table on February 19th. This
was the tweet of the week for me. You're really arguing whose ass I whooped better. Crawford rejects, whoa, whoa, whoa. Campbell have lost speed at 34, near 35 years of age, but will still be the faster of the two. Can he retain the speed and keep his shape over the distance though? Kell never really relied on his speed, but if he has anything near the same timing at his prime, or even what he showed in the early rounds against Crawford, Khan could be in serious shit. Out of the two attributes, Kell is more likely to retain more of his timing than Amir will retain of his speed at their ages now. Kell is naturally the bigger man. Khan has height and reach. Kell has metal in both his orbital bones, right and left. Khan is a little more vulnerable around the chin, but if Kell is caught right, he will go as well. Kell may be the one who's going to fight with his heart more than his head. He's using words like carnage. Forget boxing. I want to turn it into a car park scrap. Take his head off his shoulders. Amir replies to that when asked what it takes to win. He said, not a car park scrap. You know, he's talking about having a good game plan and it's going to take more than a car park scrap. And he kind of mocked Kell for being so simplistic in his approach to the fight. Now, the temperament of both fighters is going to be key, I believe, in the outcome. Is Kell's anger going to fuel him to victory, pound through Amir's defenses? Or is Khan's more collected approach going to dissect and deconstruct Kell? Why is Kell mad? Well, Amir has put it out there that Kell is homosexual. He told Kell to get a belt. Kell got a belt and he still wouldn't fight him. He speaks about a sparring session they had where they told him to box Kell with one arm and he embarrassed Kell. So Kell is carrying a lot of resentment for Amir. Khan has pulled at Kell's strings whether the fight's going to happen or not, and that's frustrated Kell. If anyone is in anyone's head, Khan is in Kell's head. I don't know who's going to win, but Khan has a slight mental advantage here with the head games. It's a catch weight at 149. Now Amir is phrasing it, there are extreme financial penalties if Kell Brook misses the weight. Well, what if he misses the weight? At 34, is he going to find it that easy to make 149? I know in theory it will affect Kell more, he's the naturally bigger man. At 154, I think Kell would be a massive favourite, wouldn't he? But 149 it is. I think that's a fair compromise. Brook is back with Dominic Ingle. Is that a good sign for Kell? He wasn't there for the Crawford fight. I don't think it would have made any difference. But that's the guy who guided him to his world title, so that's who he's more accustomed to training with. So probably a good move for Kell. Teofimo Lopez Sr. is not a stand-up guy. His moral compass, not the lowest, but pretty low. He's such a weasel. After his son lost the points decision, what did he say? He was trying to pacify Bob, wasn't he? We should never have fought on DAZN. It was a mistake. Yo, Bob, we made a mistake. Can we run back to you now? He was almost pleading with Bob to take me back when he said that. Shame on you. He made sure he made his plea live on air. Don't be too hard on us, Bob. We were fools. Next time, we'll obey the rules. And then we're going to have a couple of pay-per-view fights next year with Top Rank, when I don't remember Teo having any pay-per-view fights with Top Rank previously. The Lomachenko fight wasn't pay-per-view, was it? No, it wasn't. I'm sure Loma is going to be looking for a strap rather than rematching Teo. Maybe he might want to get revenge, but Teo don't have that kind of bargaining power. Lopez Sr. is the most deluded man in boxing. Maybe it's not such a bad thing having no shame, you know, because at least if he's ran out of Top Rank, he'll have no shame in running back to Eddie with his tail between his legs, gassing Eddie up. You're the greatest, Eddie, you're the greatest. He's also saying that he left his son too long at 135. Oh, come on, give it a break, mate. So this Saturday we had a DAZN card, Cambosos versus Lopez, and there was also Fulton versus Figueroa. I haven't even seen that fight yet. And there was a clash there, wasn't there? A bit of a clash. I think the Figueroa fight happened a little after the Lopez fight, but it's still a clash. And now Saturday, we've got Tank versus ISSAC CRUZ, PBC, and Devin versus Jojo Diaz. Why are they clashing the scheduling like that between broadcasters? Why aren't they even trying to compromise with each other so they can get the whole Saturday for themselves? The WBO have ordered Andrade versus JANIBEK for the 160-pound title that Andrade currently holds. 20 days for the parties to agree terms and reach an agreement, or purse bid proceedings will be called for. Either team can call for a purse bid at any time. JANIBEK is represented by Top Rank and manager Igis Klimas, who petitioned to the WBO to name the Kazakhstani middleweight as the mandatory challenger just 1 week ago. Now, JANIBEK 11-0, 7 stoppages. He has a little cult following, and they've been calling for this fight. They've been calling for it from last year. So I'm not going to say it's a no-win situation for Andrade, because it is what it is. If he dismantles this guy, they're going to say, he fought a green JANIBEK. But if JANIBEK wins, the cult hype surrounding him will be justified. It is what it is. That's boxing. Andrade has failed to attract the bigger names into the ring, and he's got to fight his mandatory. This will be his 6th defense of that WBO belt. Last time out, he stopped Jason Quigley in 2 and looked very impressive. Before that, he had a mandatory against Liam Williams, won a UD. Now, unless I've missed something, 11-0, 7 stoppages. Is JANIBEK's biggest win Rob Brown? Call me a hater, does he deserve a shot? Now, you have to say it's a great win if he can beat Andrade in 11 fights. I have to do a more comprehensive study on the guy, and weigh up the fight from there. Is anyone of the opinion that he's going to upset Andrade, or is it too early? Now, here's where there's a bit of a double standard, and why some of us looking at Andrade's career are a little skeptical that everything is above board. The WBC and WBO have this new initiative to stop mandatory defenses stockpiling on title holders, thus decreasing their opportunities for unifications, I'm guessing, is the logic. And they have Daniel Roman ranked number 1 by the WBO, ranked number 1 by the WBC, as the joint mandatory, to face Stephen Fulton. But Jaime Munguia is ranked number 1 by the WBC and WBO. So in principle, they should be ordering him to fight Andrade like they're ordering Roman to fight Fulton. Or am I missing something? When are they going to act on that? I mean, Munguia declines his mandatory shot. They still rank him number 1, but mandate the number 2 guy. You're telling me that's not corruption there? And what's up with all these golden boy fighters declining title shots? These sanctioning bodies are trying to make themselves look really good. Look, we're cutting down mandatories for the champions and we're making the way for unifications. Yet the WBC are doing nothing to make a unification between Charlo and Andrade. Didn't Eddie draft up letters to the WBC and WBO requesting them to mandate Charlo to fight Andrade? And they've done nothing on that. But yet you want to give fucking Daniel Roman a shot at Fulton and do nothing for Andrade at all. He's got to fight JANIBEK. No profile JANIBEK. Why the high profile fighters like Charlo and Munguia, he can't get near them because of the sanctioning bodies. The good old WBC and WBO, who are now apparently best buds making joint mandatories. And Eddie also cited an example where they did this with Kovalev and Stevenson when Kathy Duva claimed that she wanted the unification, and they mandated the WBO champion Kovalev to fight Stevenson, and Kathy pulled out of the purse bid. So there's a template there, but all we're hearing is crickets. They're not acting on it. And according to Andrade, Munguia's been his mandatory for about 3 years or something like that. Is that right? I'm not sure if he's right on that. But Eddie was saying that Munguia shouldn't have his number 1 ranking if he declines a title shot. Ryan Garcia's been out the ring for 11 months now and declined his mandatory shot against Devin Haney. Let's see where he's ranked in the rankings. Number 2. You decline title shots, him and Jaime Munguia, and still retain such a high ranking. Michael the Forgotten Man, the Invisible Man Hunter, who turned down the Eliminator against Hrgovic, He takes on Jerry Forrest, who recently got a draw with Zhele Zhang and had some hard-fought 10-rounders against Jermaine Franklin and Carlos Takam. It's not a bad fight. You just have this feeling that Mike should be doing much better. The biggest redeeming quality for the fight for Mike is if he can do a quicker job than Zhele did against Forrest. You know, that will put his head in some headlines. But if he struggles to a points decision like Carlos Takam, like Jermaine Franklin, it's not going to increase his profile one bit. It's on Triller, by the way. Rumour has it that Sisaket Sorungvasai and Carlos Cuadras are to meet for the vacant world WBC junior bantamweight title. Sounds better when you say super flyweight. And Juan Francisco Estrada and Roman Gonzalez will meet for the third time in early 2022 for the franchise title. Pedro Guevara and Fernando Guevara, they got the same surnames? Surely a typo. Were ordered to meet in an eliminator. Now this franchise shit is messed up, to be honest with you, because Estrada and Gonzalez had a unification, so we should be pushing for undisputed from here. You're kind of tarnishing Estrada's accomplishment by giving him that franchise shit. Why don't you just let him be the unified champion in the weight class? I'm not going to get into that, you know what I mean? Like, the WBA claim they're trying to clean up their situation, and you have the WBC adding to it with all this crap here. But this is one weight class where it won't really matter, because Cuadras versus Rungvisai, what's this, the second meeting between the two? Estrada is going to meet Gonzalez for the third time. Estrada and Rungvisai have already fought twice. Roman and Rungvisai have already fought twice. They just need to get Ankayas and Ioka into the picture. And these guys will fight each other repeatedly anyway. I don't think Estrada or Gonzalez is going to use their franchise status to duck any of the rival champions or contenders. I just don't see that happening. So early New Year, Estrada versus Gonzalez for the franchise belt. Here's what's not making sense about that, though. If Rungvisai is ranked number 1 and Gonzalez 2, and they're saying the franchise belt is the superior belt over the old WBC world title, well, why aren't they pushing Rungvisai to fight for the franchise title? You've got the number 2 in Gonzalez fighting for the quote-unquote elite belt. Big up the WBC and the WBA. I think they do a lot of this shit just to piss people off. They're trolls, aren't they? So, looking at this week's action, Yarde versus Arthur, rematch. No potential upsets there. Very close fight in my opinion. Arthur won the first fight using an educated left hand jab. Yarde just took too long to get his shots off, had his moments. He needs to open up from earlier, and then we could potentially have a different result. Yarde needs to slip underneath that jab and reduce Lyndon's time to throw the bloody thing. He really needs to do that. He needs to get to Lyndon's body. He needs to set the knockout punch up. Can't be looking for one punch all night. Lyndon will be looking to set his own tempo behind that jab. The jab is the key. It's the most important punch, and he's going to keep it basic. Can Yarde force him out of that construct? The kidology in that fight, like Lyndon did say to Pat Barrett during the interval, I can't land my right hand. They're writing that off now to say, oh, his hand was injured, is what he meant. No. If your hand is hurting, you say your hand is hurting. But if that's what they're going to go with, that's what they're going to go with. So, are they suggesting we're going to see a more offensive display from Lyndon? Are we going to see that right hand that he apparently had surgery on after the Yarde fight? Are we going to see it more? I have my doubts. I don't think Pat Barrett or Arthur really want to trade with Yarde like that. I just don't think they do. Yarde did the more damage with his power punches throughout the fight. Lyndon did snap Yarde's head back with the jab a few times, but there was no visible effect noticeable when he hit Yarde with anything hard. I don't know who's going to win it. The last fight was close. It will be more than likely Yarde by stoppage, Lyndon on points. Jojo Diaz versus Devin Haney. It's a good fight. Jojo's got good victories over the likes of Tevin Farmer, Javier Fortuna. Lost a close decision to Gary Russell Jr. I don't know if he hits hard enough especially at 135, to threaten Devin. That's the thing. I think Devin is the better boxer. And once again, with Lyndon Arthur against Yarde, who has the better jab? Devin does. Devin has the superior reach, way longer reach, about a 7-inch reach advantage. Jojo will try and bring the attrition and make a good fight of it. And maybe he could outwork Devin. Who knows? Devin says he wants a knockout. He hasn't had one of them since he stopped Abdulev in 2019. That's for the interim WBC title. They elevated him to the full champion when they gave Lomachenko some franchise status. If Jojo pulls it off, it will be a huge upset of sorts. Not the biggest in history or anything like that, but Devin will be blowing a stack load of potentially lucrative fights, losing here against the likes of Kambosos. I won't say Gervonta Davis because he doesn't want to fight anybody. Tank versus Isaac Cruz, in-house fight. He's probably actually a better opponent than Rolly. Not saying that says much really. Potential upset. Stranger things have happened. Tank is too good for this level of opposition. I know he's world ranked, Isaac Cruz. But, you know, he's a come-forward guy. He's going to walk onto Tank's punches at some stage. I think the most we can ask for here is what kind of chin does he have? What kind of endurance and will to try and win? What fight are you really looking forward to? Yarde versus Arthur? Haney versus Jojo? Tank versus Cruz? Or are you just a boxing nut who wants to see all of it? Billy Nelson. Looks like Martin Bakole will be fighting a top 10 opponent in February. Unfortunately, a top British heavyweight doesn't want that smoke, even after we said yes to the fight. Even after you said no to the Hrgovic fight. And he's claiming that Yo could duck the smoke as well. Everyone's ducking them. Who is this top 10 guy that Martin's going to be facing? Who is he? Who's the British guy they're saying doesn't want the smoke? Is this top 10 opponent going to be paying Martin more than the Hrgovic fight? Probably not. Billy, come on now. Fulton versus Figueroa. Early to mid-rounds, I wouldn't say that Fulton was dominant, but he landed the cleaner punches. Brandon did better to the body. He was very industrious, but his accuracy may have let him down a little. Fulton didn't do much down the stretch. I don't know, either a draw or Figueroa scraped it, but Fulton got the decision, so it is what it is. Run it again? This was bound to happen to Brandon. He's a tall guy who potentially makes it easy for his shorter opponents by just conceding his height like that and giving Fulton so many free shots. And then when he attacks Brandon, it's not very sophisticated. It's not easy to read a lot of the clean punches from the ones that are partially blocked. So it was a tough one to score. Fulton, a decent counter puncher, but nothing special in my eyes. But not bad. Eddie Hearn has become perhaps the most polarizing figure in boxing. Perhaps even more than Anthony Joshua, because Eddie, his main tool is talking. John Fury was talking about he's going to bury Eddie Hearn. Did he mean physically, or he was going to leak some information about his old man and the Black Book rumors with Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know, because it seemed a bit cryptic what he was saying. Like Eddie said, it was tasteless the way John... No, he didn't even say John, he said that the way the press conference was conducted between Jake and Tommy Fury, with some of the language that was used. I mean, John was basically talking about sexual assault in this paradigm and time. That's just a Me Too case straight away if you talk like that in a high-profile boxing match. Frank Warren wasn't happy with what John Fury said. You could see he wasn't. BT apologized for it. And Eddie said it was tasteless and disgusting, and John wants to bury him for that. Bit of an overreaction. I mean, if Eddie went into detail about John's threat of sexual assault, then yeah, I can understand John responding like that. But tasteless and disgusting, that's all what Eddie said. Now you want to bury him? I don't know. I mean, like, John Fury's just flesh and blood like any other man, and all this threatening and I'm John Fury shit. It's the type of language that's going to land him in another Mickey Theo situation, and one day he won't be able to get out of it so easy. It is what it is. Kell Brook's dad, Terry, the same guy who ran to Top Rank and done the deal with Crawford without Eddie, then ran back to Eddie when they realized, oh, we haven't got a TV deal in the UK. And when Eddie said no, he was pissed. He got pissed again because Eddie said he would have put on Brook and Khan, but just not the price that Sky was paying. So Sky must have made Brook and Khan an offer. Terry took the offer to Eddie and said, if you can match that or increase it, you've got the fight. And Eddie said, no, not interested. And he got pissed. Then obviously you got Leonard Ellerbe. We've covered that a lot recently. And Lou DiBella, look at this. Michael Wood said, I wasn't sure if George Kambosos had a co-promotional deal with Matchroom. Michael asked Eddie, and he said, no. He says, no, we are not promoters of Kambosos. And he said, Lou DiBella is sole promoter, I believe, and Peter Khan is the manager, said Eddie. This led to Lou DiBella, he believes. Typical Eddie, no, he knows. And Eddie promoted the fight because of a default to Eddie. Why would you think there might be a co-promotional deal? Well, that's Michael saying there might be a co-promotional deal. That's not Eddie. Who gave you that impression? Just asking. So he's just trying to throw shade on Eddie for nothing, literally. Really and truly. And Eddie said Lou phoned him up and he was just complaining and moaning. And Eddie was saying, dude, your guy just won. You won the lottery. Why are you so mad? Why are you not happy? You better not talk to Kambosos. And Eddie said, I'm not going to talk to him. He just got them paranoid. Obviously, you got Bob Arum, Bob fuck Eddie Arum right now. And I guess maybe Lou's looking at the way that Eddie landed the Kambosos-Lopez fight. But that's not Eddie's fault. He wasn't doing anything illegal. His purse bid just came through. But me doing my old psychology, my amateur psychology thing, this was just Lou beating his chest. You're not the only big promoter around. Look, I'm back. I've got the man with the majority straps at 135. You won't be dictating any Haney, Kambosos fight and stuff like that. That's what it felt like to me with Lou. I mean, what, you're mad at Eddie because he said Lou is the sole promoter, I believe, and Peter Khan is the manager. That made you mad? Nah. And Lou's been frustrated that he's been in the shadows of Eddie in his own country for a long time. I've been saying it for an age. That's what this is now. I think I'm going to start running a Who's Mad at Eddie section in the weeklies from now. In the last one, I told everybody that Kambosos is not going to go straight into a Devin Haney fight or a Jojo Diaz fight. They're going to have a homecoming fight against the Soft Touch, do some promotional work with George in Australia, establish a base and whatever sponsors and business and all that boring stuff. Well, it's boring to who ain't getting no money out of it. But it's just the way of the world, and maybe later down the line we'll get that fight if it's still on the table. And that's exactly the route they're going to take. I think it was Peter Khan, whatever. He said, word for word, I haven't got the quote here. He said, more than likely that's the route they're going to take. You can expect Lou to be mad with Eddie at some stage next year if Haney beats Jojo and he's looking to top all the belts and Eddie's pushing for the Kambosos fight. You're going to hear Lou talking all types of shit about Eddie. Eddie this, Eddie that, when all he's trying to do is protect George and protect the belts and keep them straps in Australia for a little while. I've got Lou figured out. I had Lou figured out for a little while. When he started talking about Devin's numbers and Devin don't do these numbers and don't do these numbers, Lou, got you figured out already. Got you figured out already. When fighters like Haney and Andrade get a shot at something big, they better show up, because they're the fighters who people like to say, they run, they're no good, they can't sell. But why is it they're always getting shut out of fights all the time? And you got to be honest and ask yourself these questions. And when you are honest, you're not going to like your honesty. You're going to hate your honesty if you're of a certain persuasion. Look, Lou has a point. Kambosos does hold all the aces right now after the shock victory. But it's not the language that we need to hear as boxing fans, so Devin's got to do all the chasing to get a Kambosos fight. No, we're not looking forward to that. And maybe he should have kept that quiet. Devin needs to look impressive on Saturday to wrestle back some of the initiative about who needs to chase who. So it looks like Ricky Hatton and Eddie Hearn and perhaps Campbell himself have got the message after a stack load of criticism, with Campbell being Ricky Hatton's son, fighting on big DAZN cards, Anthony Joshua undercards and stuff. And although they've managed to get him to 4-0, he clearly lost the last fight. And he just hasn't looked the goods for a fighter fighting on cards at this level in the UK. And he's going to be fighting on Friday, but not on a big UK card. It's going to be on a Spanish card on DAZN, headlined by Kerman Lejarada. He's going to take on Jack Flatley, who's challenging Lejarada for the European title at 154. I'm not familiar with the other names on the card, but this, in theory, should take some of the pressure off Campbell. In theory. Because, look, it's still a high-profile card. I'm telling you it is. Like, growing up watching boxing on terrestrial television, you didn't get to see Spanish cards and stuff like that. And a lot of people are going to see it on DAZN. A lot of people are going to stream it illegally. And if he gets turned over, it's going to be a news story. You know, most boxers in this country will never fight on a network like DAZN. Will never fight on Sky like Campbell's done. So they tried to make it as low profile as possible, and this is the best they can do. Because even if they was to put him on Fight Zone or on a Steve Goodwin card at the York Hall, it's going to become relatively high profile because he's the son of Ricky Hatton. And the truth is, there's a lot of people who are just waiting for the car crash. They want to see young Campbell get turned over. But yeah, putting him on major DAZN cards, probably not the best thing right now. So this is the next best solution, I guess.